In the last week, I spoke about theories about the evolution of humankind. And two kinds of theory there are about the human evolution. The first one, East Side story. It's mean that evolution of human unfolded in the eastern part of Africa. And the basic environmental cause of evolution, environmental changes. Therefore, in the rupture line, eastern rupture line of Africa arose its surface, therefore changed the vegetation from tropical forest, to savanna. Therefore, necessarily the early sub-races of human adapt to the changing environment. This is one theory. And the second theory, aquatic ape hypothesis. It's no any evidences about the aquatic ape hypothesis, therefore this is a hypothetical theory, which based to the concept that a human located to the middle position, the chain of consummation. Therefore, for predators like lion and tiger and other, very dangerous for humans. Therefore, a safe place for early human communities, a shallow water-covered area. Because it's approaching the lion, it's very easy to run to the shallow water-covered, for example, bay or lake. Therefore, according to this theory, evolution located to the shallow water-covered area in seaside, lakeside, or riverside. And in the last week, we surveyed the not direct but indirect evidences. You remember this? No? No. Yes or no?
I think we haven't seen this picture.
We spoke about. No, okay. Look at the first one. It's indirect evidences. Why? Because on the time of human evolution, the sea level was 100 meters lower. Why? Because on the Ice Age, a huge ice-covered forest, ice-covered area, it's pushed down water sea level. For example, a Mediterranean Sea dried up, whole of the Mediterranean Sea. And the Bering Strait between Asia and America, it was a land bridge because a water level 100 meters or some period a little bit more lower. Okay, no direct evidences, but look at indirect evidences. Loss of body hair. Compare the ape and the human. The body, it's statistical because I have some friend it's covered with very thin hair, but generally the human it's not typical. Why? Because according to supporter of this theory, it's a disadvantage because necessary somebody go and back to the water. It's lost the energy drying the hair, whole of the body. Why important saving the hair on the head? Because it's safe against the sunbeam, solar radiation. Moreover, very interesting, different sensibility for how the name is losing of hair. It's a balding. A man, a male, much sensible, look at me, for the balding, and the women not. Why? Because supporter of this theory, very important evolutionary advantage if some woman there is a long hair. Why? Somebody there is idea? Because it's quite a lot of time spending on shallow water and the floating baby take the hand, the hair of women. As if one woman no long and strong hair, her baby, not good chance for survival. And therefore, a positive selection selected out women who not enough strong hair Okay, it's indirect evidences, but logical. Okay, facilitation of bipedal walking. Why? You know the law of Archimedes. The body or the material unit lost the weight, which the weight of water is pushing out. This is the law of Archimedes. Therefore, if somebody there happened accident, rehabilitation, very efficient form of the rehabilitation, aquatic rehabilitation, and according to supporter of this theory, it's increase the speed of bipedal walking. Okay, skin bonded fat deposit. Look at me, for example. It's a typical sea mammal. Look at the seal, for example. Typical sea mammal peculiarity. Breath control. It's very interesting. A breath control, if somebody is diving, able to stop the breath. Look at, for example, the case of dogs or cats. Not able for diving. Not able to stop the breath. Web between the fingers. According to the supporter of this theory, 7% of human a little bit higher the web between the finger. Like, for example, a duck. It's a little bit higher. Downward watching nose, because it's diving a little bit simpler, because increase the pressure inside of the nose and much easier moving down under the water level. Slowing heartbeat under the water. If somebody diving a little bit, change the reaction, change the function of human body, a standby function. It's a much saving function, much slower, save the energy. Diving reflex, you know, until the end of third month, the babies, no panic if take under the water. It's a diving reflex, but very important, be careful, because lost the oxygen. Therefore, it's very good mood, but necessary to taking out from under the water. Affection to the water. No any other mammals who like the water. But in Japan, there is a monkey, a local monkey species, I don't know the name of local monkey species, who walk voluntarily to the water. And on the summer period, you can see in the newspaper, electronic or paper-based printed newspaper, monkeys is sitting on the water, because Japan located to tectonical line, there is a lot of thermal water, thermal river, thermal lake, and this monkey is walking, but no enjoy, no playing. Playing and enjoy the water, it's typical human peculiarity, no any other mammals. Look at, for example, but there is an exception. There is an exception, it's possible, I told to you, my cat. My cat, for example, enjoy the water, but it's a special. It's a special because, you know, there are three categories of animal. A domesticated animal, a wild animal, and a tamed animal. It's a taming, only special, only content, only concern to the person, individual taming there is. For example, maybe tame a lion even. It's different category, no domesticated, only the personal lion is a tame. Okay, affection to the water, and human sweet and tear salty. And according to this evidence, this argumentation concern that human evolution located a salt-rich area, like for example a seaside. Okay, good. This is the one side of human evolution. Look at Earth, which was the physical background of human evolution. Look at the first. Human evolution unfolded in Ice Age, Pleistocene Ice Age. But it's quite unique because recently we are living Ice Age, which is the indicator of Ice Age, a polar ice cover. Look at the Earth. Recently there are a polar ice cover, both poles of the Earth. But it's happened more times in the history of Earth. The first one, Huronian, was a snowball Earth, which happened 850 to 630 million years ago. Whole of the Earth covered by ice. The next one, Andean-Saran, and the current Ice Age. It's not sure that caused the Ice Age. It's possible recent historical time only interruption. Reason of the cause of Ice Age, not so lot of words. The first one, atmospheric composition change, change of Earth's orbit, variation of solar output, orbital dynamics of Earth-Moon system, large meteorites, like for example happened with the dinosaurs killed 6 million years ago, and the volcanism. Not interesting, but at least about the potential causes of Ice Age. If we are looking at the Ice Age, history of Ice Age, this is the recent time, started approximately between 2.5 and 3 million years ago. If we are looking at the trajectory of this diagram, not evident that closed the Ice Age. It's possible, it's a real possibility that the Ice Age didn't close. We are living the Ice Age, but recently it's contradictory because we are discussed in the public discussion about the problem of global warming. But there is a weakness of intellectual and scientific research. It's temporary, no final condition. It's possible that for 100 years, the next problem of human survival will be the returning of Ice Age. Therefore, a little bit say you drive the car, no, but you travel with car, I suppose. If we, a little bit same the situation with the science. If during the night you drive with car, the distance of light of a car only 30 meters. 30 meters. And the function of science a little bit same. We are driving on the night, and the science only show the danger of global warming. But we are not any idea which will happen after the 30 meters. Okay, it's possible that the Ice Age didn't close. Why? Because if we are looking, Ice Age, cooler, colder and warmer period changed on the time of Ice Age. This is the survey about the glacial and interglacial period. Glacial, interglacial, glacial, interglacial, glacial, interglacial, glacial, interglacial. And the last one, according to glaciologists, Flanders, we are living a Flanders interglacial. Okay? If we are looking at glacial period, this is the northern part of America, and this is the Europe, and you can see a glacier covered area, and the periglacial area, it's covered northern part, all of the northern part of Europe and half of northern America. Okay, it's interesting. Okay, we are living a Holocene. Holocene is a mean recent geological age. It's starting 11,500 before Prism. Before Prism, it's mean approximately 2000. There is a synonym of Holocene, Anthropocene, or Flanders interglacial. Other approach to the human evolution are ecological epochs: Paleolithic Age, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Copper Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age. Look at human evolution. Turn back a little bit to the human evolution. We can see the basic theory and the most important peculiarity of the physical geographical background. The dominant view that the cradle of human, it's we can locate to Africa. But there is some other theory. It's a heretical theory, a multi-regional. But this is the generally accepted African origin. Good. The first subspecies of human evolution, a Homo habilis. A Homo habilis who made the first devices, but much more interesting for us, a Homo erectus. A Homo erectus, the most successful human subspecies. Look at the trajectory. Appeared 1.8 thousand million years ago and disappeared only 100,000 years ago. Therefore, this is the longest period dominating the human evolution. Homo habilis applied devices, but Homo erectus was the subspecies who performed the most important peculiarity, which increased the differences from the animal and the humans. The most important innovation of Homo erectus was domestication of fire. Because if we are looking at Homo habilis using devices, a lot of animals like apes, chimpanzee, how the name is, it's a gorillas able to use devices. But domestication of fire was the first one which applied a Homo erectus, which is a peculiarity of human evolution. We can see a trajectory age of migration. The first subspecies who left Europe was the Homo erectus. First, domestication of fire. Second, left from two directions, to the direction of Arabian Peninsula and to the direction of Iberian Peninsula, which was it's a dry bridge between Africa and Europe on that time, because it's dried out a lot of times the Mediterranean Sea. But turn back to the domestication of fire. Domestication of fire was a key change of human evolution, because with help of fire, a human was able to create artificial environment. Because before domestication of fire, because before conquering of fire, only the humans and the human groups of the human, a herd of human, only apply a natural environment. With help of fire was a transfer. No generally accepted view about the date of domestication of fire. The most optimistic, it's happened 1.5 million years ago, and there are archaeological evidences for domestication of fire from 150,000 years ago. Which is the condition of the fire? The first important condition of the fire, oxygen. Oxygen appeared after the appearance of photosynthesis. The second condition, the fuel. When appeared the plants and the trees, the vegetation, dry vegetation, this is the good fuel. And finally, the heat, the starting heat. This is the lighting, in the case 99%, 1% volcanoes. Good. Look at one movie about the function of fire in the tribal community. Somebody noticed the movie, Guerre de Feu. It's a war of fire. This is the English. It's a French movie. It's received an Oscar Prize in 1981. It's directed by Jean-Jacques Henao. This is a very interesting story, not so according to modern knowledge of archaeology, but very interesting. The story is very simple. One tribal community living in periglacial area. We will see 20 minutes from this movie with my audio comments. The story started one tribal community living in the periglacial area, and one rival herd would like to steal the fire. And finally, this tribal community lost the fire, therefore sent 3 hunter for finding a fire, which is the condition of the survival. Okay, look at the movie. Okay, application of fire, we can separate two different types. The first one, hearth, which is the hearth function, hearth, heating and the cooking function. Heating and if somebody participated in the camping on the forest, on the landscape, there is a very important community making function of the fire. Sitting around the fire and singing around the fire and discussing around the fire, somehow, I don't know, it's a psychological function, somehow able strengthen the community feeling in one community. The second one are cooking. Why so important? Because partly the cooking, like we can see in the case of liver, able to decrease the poisonous content of the potential meals, able to make edible the materials which without cooking not edible. First. Secondly, very important function of cooking, decrease the time of digestions. Look at, for example, lions. How many times how long sleeping one lions? Okay, personally, quite a small number of people meet personally with lions. Look at the cat. How long sleeping a cat? How many hours? You never slept together with them? Never? 15 or 16. 15 or 16. Or 2 or 3 hours, it's searching the good sleeping place. Therefore, majority of day, like the fishes, it's passing with the sleeping. Why? Not because lazy. And, for example, lions, in normal situation, for example, in Africa, in the savanna area, 20 hours, lions. Why? Because digestion of, fresh meat, it's a very heavy work for the stomach. For example, you ate yet fresh meat, fresh meat. You ate yet not, never. You never participated in the pig killing, no, never. Because necessary to taste the sausages. Because making the raw material of sausages, it's a fresh meat. Tasting. It's unbelievable because I came from the eastern and rural area of Hungary. Each winter time, when I was a child, at least 5 or 6 times I participated in the pig killing, or I don't know which is the good term in English. And each case is necessary to taste the fresh meat. But when I was a student, and basically changed the diet in the urban area, and I traveled back, I participated in a pig elaboration, and I remember that the level of grass was here, because my stomach wasn't able, in the training, wasn't able to elaborate, to digest the fresh meat. Therefore, cooking somehow decreased the time of digestion. But there is a manipulation, for example, which is the strategy of cooking. Made, for example, meat edible, but save the valuable material of meat. Nutrition, trace elements, and vitamins. How able to say, you are cooking, not apart a little bit. How able to save the cooking, the valuable element of meat, for example. You know the confitation? Which is the confitation? No? Nobody? Confitation means cooking on very low temperature, very slowly for days. For example, less than 100 Celsius degree, or for example 80 Celsius degree for 2 days. Because you can compensate the low Celsius degree with the length of cooking. And in this condition, it's very slow fooding somehow, you can save a lot of valuable element. Why is so important? Because if you perform the digestion in the cooking, increase the potential free time. For the lion, necessary to sleep 20 hours. For the human, only 6, 7, 8 hours. Therefore, increase the time of free eating. Therefore, a hearth function, the cooking, it's very important. Torch and vapor. Torch and vapor. The human communities, even in the Paleolithic Age, appear in the Scandinavia. In Scandinavia, northern part of Scandinavia, somebody visited in Scandinavia, northern part of Scandinavia, for free mouth. For example, I visited in Finland, in Turku, University of Turku, and we participated in a field trip after midnight. I left in the student hostel my photo machine, but it wasn't a wise decision. Why? Because no sunset. Whole of the days, it's sun, how the name is, sunlight. It's very surprising, but it's other side of this event. During the night, for 3 months, no sunlight. Without fire, in this area, survival is not possible. Okay, very interesting, the weapon function. You remember in the movie, the wolves, apply the wolves like a fence and save the community. But there are 2 predators who don't afraid from fire. Somebody know which predator not afraid from the fire? Jackal. Why? Because the jackal is a dead eater. And for jackal, savanna fire, it's an open table. Therefore, the dead eater never afraid from the highest other world. Okay, but look at the consequences of domestication of fire. This first one, power and dependence. Because the first technology, which applied by human, it's a power and dependence. Why power? A power means, like for example, look at the smartphone. It's a power. But losing of smartphone, it's demonstrate well the dependence. Each technology is dependence. Look at the electricity supply. In the modern society, we are depending to modern Anthropocene service. Electricity, heating system, clean water. Look at, for example, if no electricity here, I am not able to take a lecture. If no heating system, we can demonstrate well, close the university. Therefore, very interesting and demonstrate well how fragile the modern society, because switch off 2 pillars, cheap energy, cheap water, it's not able to function. Okay? Fuel demands. Fuel demands in the Paleolithic Age no problem. Huge forest you can use. But look at the modern time. In the modern time, not the modern, it's a traditional time. In the traditional time, only with help of charcoal, you know which is the charcoal. Everybody, you know, charcoal. Okay, a charcoal was only one raw material which able to maintain a how the name is iron, for iron melting, iron melting. And no any other. Why? Because the energy of the tree fire only 3,000 kilojoules, and for making of iron necessary 6 to 7,000 kilojoules. And you know the making of charcoal, taking a wooden material, a timber, and covering with clay, like an oven, and making a hole here for burning, for firing, and here for smoke. And this is the normal technology. It's a slow burning, made from timber to charcoal. But for 1 unit of charcoal, necessary 10 times larger quantity of timber. Therefore, making of charcoal was, and the name, plague of forest. When the charcoal maker appeared, disappeared the forest. Look at the history of England. In England, in London, from the Middle Ages, used real, natural coal. It's a not natural coal. Therefore, the smoke in London appeared in the 13th century until the middle of 20th century. Not by chance, in the literature, you can read the different English novel, A Smoke of London. It's a literature category. But in England, they disappeared the forest because destroyed for making charcoal. And English empire, not English kingdom, conquered like a colony, Ireland. In the 16th century, Ireland was a huge forest area. Somebody visited in Ireland? Recently, no forest. Only a huge plain area with small bushes. Because English iron industry for making charcoal destroyed the Irish forest. And when disappeared the forest from England first, disappeared forest from Ireland, one clever English engineers invented the increased high content heating capacity. It's a cox, you know, coxing, a coxing process made from coal, artificial concentration of coal, which was able to produce a high content of fire, and started the industrial revolution for that. Because used fossil fuels for making iron and other form of the metals. Therefore, a fuel demand, time by time, appeared as a shortage. Or recently, a similar problem, nuclear powers. Because modern time, one of the crucial problems of the modern time, because we are living in the technology of the 19th century. In the 20th century, only one new technology appeared. It's a nuclear technology, which is dangerous. Therefore, if we are looking the future in optimistic manner, we are before the technological change. Because majority, a combustive engine, it's a not combustive, electrical engine, invented in the 19th century. 20th century, only using and modernizing an invention of the 19th century. And our problem partly came from the barriers and the threshold problem of the 19th century. Pollution, smoke and ash, smoke and ash. In the Paleolithic age, no problem, but look at the modern society. In the Industrial Revolution, for example, in Pittsburgh, in the United States, described that not able to start the engine, in the combustive engine in the car. Why? Because on this size, 1 meter high, not enough oxygen in the air. And look at, for example, sometimes walking on the street in Szeged, and very difficult to respiration. Why? Because this is the deepest, not good news for you, but this is the deepest part, whole of the Carpathian Basin, and the dust concentration in the water very high. In the air, sorry, not water, in the air. And then respiration, it's very, very difficult. Look at, for example, the mountain area. When I visited in the mountain area, much easier. Not by chance that most important hospitals for example, in the rehabilitation and so on, so take to the mountain area, much better the quality of air. Okay? Good. Very interesting indicator, increase the size of brain. Start from approximately 400 milliliters and recently around 1,600. A very interesting peculiarity of the size of human brain, that the women brain smaller one. My question, why? Why smaller the women brain? It's not a prejudice. It's verified biological evidence. No intellectual reason and consequence. Women smaller one.
Yeah, proportional.
Everything, a hand or smaller male, smaller brain. But no relation, positive relation between intellectual capacity. Only one. Smaller one, everything is smaller one. Okay. Very important innovation, the second domestication. The first domestication was domestication of fire, and the second domestication was the domestication of dog. It's very important. You remember to the movie that smelting is very important direct source of information. But the sensibility of the dogs and the sensibility of the human is different category. Therefore, somehow the smelting problem solved the human that applied the dogs. Because if sizing the receptor of the smelting, in the case of human, one matchbox size, and in the case of dog, size of football field. It's much different sensibility. According to DNA reconstruction, probably happened the domestication 100,000 years ago, and the first archaeological evidences came from the free. But very interesting that the humans started domesticate not only the dogs, but tried the foxes similarly. And very important indicator and strategy of domestication applied by Russians. You know the story that silver foxes in Russia tried to domesticate in the socialist epoch. You don't know the story. A basic strategy to domestication that each mammals, from the hippopotamus to the lions and the cats and every mammals, very friendly until his or her second month anniversary. Second month and everything, lions, tiger, everything. But after the second month, start to develop the individual character and became white. But before the second month, every mammal was very, very friendly. Therefore, the strategy of domestication is frozen down in the second month intellectual character. And the Russians applied very simple devices for that. There is a farm of silver foxes, a lot of accident with the employees of the farm, therefore selected the silver foxes who bite the hand of employees, go to the fur project, to the farm, and make a cloth, and who don't want to bite, it's left the domestication process. And these experiment performed for 40 years. And very interesting the result of the experiment, that finally domesticated one silver fox who very friendly, dog-like behavior, but changed the color fur and change the structure of body. Therefore, the fox, which domesticated, became very similar to real dog. Very interesting. It's a fail, right, finally. Okay, let's look at the dog. Okay, there is two strategies of domestication. The first one, orphan wolf cub, killed the parents and somehow domesticated. And second strategy of domestication, a self-domestication. Therefore, a lot of material in the waste hill and waste places, edible for wolves, therefore domesticated themselves according to this theory. In the case of dog, it's not so probable, but the pig domesticated themselves. Why? Followed the human community and the waste ate. And if we are looking at the pigs, it's very successful strategy. Why? Became recently such animals able to live high number on the earth which connected to the human. Therefore, in the biological backpack of human, living recently a pig, a sheep, a goat, a cattle, and almost we can close the list of biological bag of human. Okay, so wolves. Okay, very interesting, looking the human evolution according to change of devices which apply the hammers and the different stones used for elaborate the hunting animals. We can see that for a long time applied, for million years ago, applied the same technology. But something happened, it's named a great leap, a great jump. Happened around 50,000, 60 or 50 or 40,000 years ago. It's named by Jack Diamond, American ecologist, Great Evolution, which was the most important innovation, which happened on the time. Appeared art, finally made tools, appeared the fishing, appeared evidences about long-distance trade, systematic use of pigment of face and the body, figurative art, cave painting, petroglyph, figurines, game playing and the music, the first fruits, and the burial. It's a great jump, and much more interesting this story, because on this period, 50,000 years before Christ, appeared a very interesting representative of humankind. On that time, because this is the Ice Age period, Ice Age obviously didn't appear in Africa because of a tropical area, but the change of climate in Africa appeared in dry period. Therefore, in this period, when appeared this innovation, a human species was very close to collapse of community, because a human community estimated it's around 5,000. Why so interesting? Because if we are looking at Bible, in the Bible write a story of creation with Eve and Adam, a first couple. That's very interesting. In the DNA reconstruction, verified. Each of human from Indonesia to Hungary came from one woman and one man. But a small problem, lived in very different period. DNA-based reconstruction, we are son and daughter, Eve, who lived around 140,000 years ago. Each of us, according to DNA reconstruction. And we are son and daughter, Adam, who lived approximately 6,000 years ago. When appeared a little bit later art and burial and trade and the great innovation of humankind. I don't know how it happened, because we have only archaeological evidences about this period, but science fiction author used this story because, according to, for example, a science fiction author, Adam, it's some astronaut came from the space, and we have no evidences about it, but very important indicator and circumstances a small community of humans. Because Adam, who lived in 6,000 years ago, had a very special peculiarities, intellectual and personal peculiarities. Why so important a small community? Because a positive mutation able to transform the community if the community is small. Look at, for example, recently we are living all of the world, it's 8 million or billion American or British English. In this large community, no chance for mutation. No chance for mutation. Why? Because it's start one mutation, like the wave on the ocean, it's smaller, 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 and return to the average. In the small community, which was around 6,000 years ago, a positive mutation was able to transform whole of the character of the community. Okay, it's very interesting, the secret of human evolution. Okay, finally, approximately 12,000 years ago, closed the Ice Age and started the human history. Changed the climate, sea level rose, and changed the flora and fauna in the consequence of warming, and geological and isostatic moving unfolded. Rose 100 meters the water level. It's more detailed. It's 22,000 years ago, and step by step increase the water level. Why so important? Look at the flood story in the Bible. Flood story try to reconstruct which real event might be the source of the flood of Noah. According to archaeological reconstruction, probably filling up the Mediterranean Sea and creation of the Black Sea was the real background and event of the Noah's flood. You know the story that on which mountain stopped the ship of Noah? Mountain of Ararat. Mountain recently Armenia, located in Armenia, in the Caucasus, on the southern part, eastern and southern part from the Black Sea. Therefore, probably one step of sea level, sea rising, was the real story on which based the flood of Noah. Increased the size of vegetation to the direction of pole, and very interesting how transform and retransform our landscape. Look at, for example, a Sahara. It's a good example of transformation, continuous transformation of land, of physical environment. At the end of Ice Age, to the closing period of the Ice Age, the Sahara was a very rich savanna area. If we are looking, for example, in the core area of Sahara, are petroglyphs with deers, with elephants, and with hunters, and with swimming humans, swimming mans, not swimming fishing mans. Whole of this area, 10,000 years ago, a very fertile, rich area. Look at, for example, this is the Lake Chad. Lake Chad. Lake Chad, on this period, but covered vegetation, whole of the Sahara, was a Black Sea size and like inner sea inside of Africa. It's very interesting. But it's started around 7,000 years ago, a drying process, and very important. Why so important? According to, from the point of view of civilization. Because the people who lived in the Sahara Desert escaped, died and escaped, which is the shelter for them. Nile. The Nile, in the eastern part of the Sahara Desert, and not by chance, are rising up Egyptian civilization based to the workforce of climate immigrant. Look at the story of Moses. Who were Jews in Egypt? Climate immigrant. Climate immigrant who occupied the lowest position, the worker position in the Egyptian society. Okay. Not by chance, when close the Ice Age, a lot of animals disappeared. It's named Ice Age extension. But very interesting, very different way disappeared the mammals. In northern part and southern part of America, 80% of animals, large animals, disappeared. Not by chance, in America lived camels, lived horses, lived deers. Everything disappeared. In Australia happened the same, but very interesting, in Europe and sub-Saharan Africa, the losing of mammals much smaller. Why? Because the killer, the real killer of animals in America and Australia, the human were, in two directions. Basically, climate change killed the mammoths. Second indicator of disappearance of megafauna, that's large animals, large mammals in America, was a human. Why? Because in America, before the last period of Ice Age, no human. A human appeared, and the local animal, no information, no experiences, no socialization to the human. Look at, for example, in the National Geographic movie, there is a movie about the seal hunting. You know which is the most important devices of seal hunting? No? Baseball stick. Because the seal who are living on the iceberg never saw human. Therefore, with a boat arrived the killers, and seal take some bathing on the ice mountain, and arrive the beat, walking out a hunter with the baseball stick and beating the head of seal. And beside the hunted down seal, the other one saw the human. Because no information and socialization against the human. Therefore, if appeared a new place, a new predator, its fragility of local community for any animals, any species, it's very high. Because no information. First, if looking from the side of human, in the early human community, there is some technology, according to American English term, a technology of environmental protection, which is the mythical environmental protection. Then imagine there is a faith system, imagine that behind the animals, behind the mountains, behind the wells, behind the forest, there is a jinn or angels or mythical beings which say, but for evolution of faith, evolution of theological thinking, necessary a time, necessary a generation, experience of cultural evolution. But if newcomers arrive in new places, kill everybody which approach in front of them. And finally, a human which appeared in Australia and appeared in America. First, proliferated new viruses, new bacteria, and new fungi. And hyper disease disappeared a lot of animals. And not only the human appeared the new continent, but the domesticated dogs. Therefore, it was a biological bomb in the new places. Okay, this is the trajectory of human migration. Therefore, this is the cradle of human, occupied and left two directions, Africa, and occupied Eurasia, arrived to the last phase of Ice Age to America, and up here 10,000 years ago to the southern part of South America, and arrived Australia too, and populated whole of the world. Okay, this is the great species of human. Homo erectus were from the first leaving of Africa, and Homo sapiens was the second one, and migration to Americas and Australia happened between 50 and 12,000 years ago. And some animation how changed Bering Strait and how became a Bering land bridge. You can calculate and follow the time scale. This was a bridge and later became a strait, as recently we know. Okay, immigration to Australia. This is the history of population. In the Paleolithic age, estimate the human population 1 million, Neolithic age 10 million, Bronze age 100 million, Industrial Revolution at the beginning of, it's American English, it's 1 million in British English, and very interesting when we reach to 10 billion. So, the time is expired. Okay, this is the last one. This is the only geological peculiarities that if we are looking at the Earth, the globe, it's function like a football ball. Why? Elastical. If we are looking at Earth, there is a core which made from iron, a mantle, it's a flexible. We have information on the case of volcano eruption, and the crust. And in the time of Ice Age, huge cover of ice cover, it's somehow pushed down and deformed the ball. And after the melting of ice cover, changed the form of Earth. And in the case of Scandinavia, the huge and thick ice cover pushed down with 260 meters. And after the closing of Ice Age, it's rising up. Therefore, the Scandinavian country's territory increased century by century. It's very interesting geologically, without conquering, without war, able to increase the size of the country. Okay, we will continue in the next week with human evolution.